Welcome. Welcome to First Parish in Needham, a Unitarian Universalist congregation founded in 1711 along with the town of Needham. We are a proud LGBTQ welcoming congregation, climate justice seeking green sanctuary, and level 2 sanctuary supporting congregation for immigration justice. Whoever you are, whatever your background, wherever you're watching from, you are welcome here. I'm Deborah Niles. I've been a member here since 1997, when my twins, now 30, were 7. They had a great experience in the church school, and I met friends that I will have for life. I'm currently a member of the Social Action Committee, a contributor to the Racial Justice Task Force and Green Congregation Committees. When I've had projects that I wanted to undertake here, they have been met with enthusiasm and great support in this church community, including UU the Vote and the Guest at Your Table program. As you know, what's happening now at the congregation is very different than usual because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Although our building is closed, our faith community is wide open. We hope all of you will plug into our Zoom gathering opportunities throughout the week, including social hour after every Sunday service. You can learn more about all that's happening here at First Parish by going to our website, uuneedham.org, or by following us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. To get the Zoom links, please sign up for our weekly email newsletter by going to our website and clicking Get Involved Newsletter, or sending your request to office@uuneedham.org. Our sincere hope is that these online services and connection opportunities will help us keep the physical distance that's required during this pandemic without losing much of the spiritual, emotional, and social closeness that we treasure in our faith community. If you're watching this service as it live streams, please take a moment now to say hello and introduce yourselves in the chat box. Welcome again to everyone, and good morning.
We light our chalice today with the words from 13th century Sufi poet and mystic Jalaluddin Rumi. This is his poem, The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Hymn number 1007, There's a River Flowing in My Soul, was written by Faya Ora Rose Torre, formerly known as Rose Sanders, a community activist, attorney, and judge who began fighting for equality for all people since her involvement with the civil rights movement. In 1973, she became the first Black woman judge in Alabama's history, and in addition to her legal career, she is a prolific playwright and songwriter. Please join us in singing from home hymn number 1007, There's a River Flowing in My Soul.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul.
In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the covenant is a set of promises the membership of a congregation strives to honor with one another and out in the world. Though we cannot gather in person during this time, we strive to live these promises every single day. Please say along with me from home the words of our parish covenant as shown on your screen. We gather as a loving community to encourage and comfort one another. We gather as a diverse community to support each other in our search for spiritual truth. We gather as a service community to live our beliefs through action and care for our world.
Hi everyone. I'm really pleased to share with you one of my favorite all-time books. It's called I Am Human. It's by Susan Verde and the art is by Peter H. Reynolds. I was born, a miracle, one of billions, but unique. I am human. I am always learning. I'm finding my way and choosing my path on this incredible journey. I have big dreams. I see possibility. I have endless curiosity. I make discoveries. I have a feeling of wonder. I am amazed by nature. I have a playful side. I find joy in friendships. I am human. But being human means I am not perfect. I make mistakes. I can hurt others with my words, my actions, and even my silence. I can be hurt too. I can be fearful of things I don't yet understand, and timid to try something new. I have a heavy heart when I feel sadness. I am human. But then I remind myself that because I am human, I can make choices. I can move forward. A poor choice can become a better choice with thoughtfulness. A bad day can become a great day with kindness. I can act with compassion and lend a helping hand. I can treat others with equality and be fair. I can choose not to fight, but instead to listen and find common ground. I can say, I'm sorry, and ask for forgiveness. I am human, one of billions, but unique. I am not alone. I am connected to my friends, to my family, to the world. We are all humans together. And I will keep trying to be the best version of me. I am full of hope. I am human. Wow. What a great book. I have our ER Emotional Resiliency pals here. And Thoughtful Turtle wants to ask you, I wonder what part of the story opened your mind to new thoughts. Maybe one thought, maybe a little new thought, maybe a great big new thought. It's great to use our thinking minds when we read inspiring books like this. And Loving Lion here wants to ask, I wonder how this book inspires you to use your you loving heart. Does it inspire you to love yourself, all the special parts of yourself? Does it inspire you to love your family members and your friends, all the special parts of them? I hope it does remind us to be loving of all our uniqueness on our good and hard days. And last but not least, Caring Chipmunk here wonders, does this book inspire you to be more caring in the world and to use our you helping hands? How might you remind others that they are special and unique and not alone?
It is now time to share with one another our joys and concerns from the past week. These joys and concerns were submitted to me at internminister@uuneedham.org by the Thursday before the service at midnight. If you did not submit a candle but would like to share this morning, you are invited to enter your message into the chat box on either YouTube or Zoom. As our service is live streamed to YouTube, we cannot guarantee that your joys, concerns, sorrows, or milestones will stay within the First Parish community, but you are always welcome to reach out to Reverend Katie, myself, or the Pastoral Care Associate of the Week, whose name was emailed in your emailed order of service, for pastoral care or to share more privately. If you're missing hearing each other's voices during this beloved ritual, may this also serve as a reminder to reach out to one another after the service. May this beloved community be sustained by your creativity and care for one another during this time.
Our first and only candle this morning is a candle of joy from the First Parish staff team. Sandra Riscala finally came home from rehab on Friday after a 5-week-long battle with COVID. Tom and Sandra know that the transition back and ongoing recovery will be a new challenge, but are so happy to have Sandra back home. Please continue to keep them both in your prayers.
For all the joys and sorrows that we still hold in our hearts, and in acknowledging the prayers of our neighbors near and far, we light one final candle. May the peace in this sanctuary be felt too in each of your homes, as we remember that even though apart, we are still deeply connected. Amen. Let us join together now in prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, God of many names, we rejoice with all of you who come today in joy. We know that in times like this, we need joy and laughter if we are to continue the work that is ours to do. Our hearts are also with those who come today with a sorrow or a fear or in tiredness or weariness. We join together in outrage after a New York grand jury failed to indict any of the Rochester officers involved in what was ruled a homicide of 41-year-old black man Daniel Prude after fatal force was used in response to a mental health crisis call in March of last year. Our prayers are also with Texans as the recovery after the deadly winter storm is just beginning, and many are still without drinkable water and power. We direct our prayers to those navigating temporary housing, home repairs, property loss, unimaginable electricity bills, and the financial hardships that might come from all of this. And we take a moment of silence and acknowledgement for the now 500,000 lives lost in the United States to COVID-19, with over 100,000 of those deaths in the last 5 weeks alone. We remember the 500,000 parents, children, siblings, spouses, friends lost to this pandemic and the very human cost of this deadly disease. And we grieve the disproportionate death tolls in communities of color and immigrant communities. And added to it, the fact that vaccine rollout has been uneven and inadequate with those very communities where the death toll has been the highest. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor, remember, and reflect. May we look to this loving community for resilience and hope when our own is in short supply. May we hold each other from a distance in the places that are the most tender this week. May we remember that even though physically distanced, we are still deeply connected. May it be so. And amen. And now please join us in singing from home our meditative hymn this morning, Filled with Loving Kindness. The lyrics and music will appear on your screens.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
Good morning.
My name is George, and this is my wife, Cece. When I think of First Parish, I think about the connections we have made over the 4 years that Cece and I have been part of the community. We've made friendships that have become dear to us. The spiritual guidance nourishes and refreshes me. This past year has come with challenges, and First Parish has provided a sanctuary of sorts for me. Having a virtual service every week has helped ground me. I appreciate the effort so many have made to put together a virtual service every single week. I recently enjoyed the opportunity to participate in the musical director search committee that brought Melissa to the virtual community. She has brought her piano and choral directing talents and provided lively and soul-enriching music. I enjoy participating in Big Question Forum and attending the Lame Lyceum events. Cece and I have chosen to be on the Reparations Committee because I feel, or rather we feel, that it's most important work. Bringing life and voice to a person named Homer because when he was alive, his freedom and voice were taken from him. I am grateful to have these opportunities.
When I think of First Parish, I think of community. In the 40 years that I've lived in the United States, there are few places that I consider safe spaces, and First Parish is definitely one of them. We are most grateful for the interesting and admirable staff and fellow parishioners that we have met. Some relationships, though relatively new, feel very old and very familiar. There are a lot of groups and committees to engage in at First Parish, whether it's spiritual exploration, social justice, environmental protection, immigrant ministry, etc. During this pandemic, I have found myself exploring many familiar and some new interests. I love creating and escaping with the arts with Lynn J. and writing from the heart with Nora. And who'd have thought that I could actually sit still? But I do on most Thursdays, meditating with Lynn R., and I attend Vespers as well. To be honest, I rarely ever wear an apron, but I'm wearing part of my costume from this past Friday's performance of Our Town, directed by our very dear Nora Hussey. I was Mrs. Gibbs in Act 1, but don't forget to watch Act 2 and 3 on March 5th and March 12th. Also drop in and at My Neighbor's Table series, a conversation on fault lines, grappling with segregation in our schools, on March 21st at 5:30 p.m. Check Eventbrite for more information. There is something for almost everyone at First Parish. I find that we are nourished in so many ways and offered so many opportunities to grow and learn. We hope that you will find your way to come and visit us when it is safe to do so. It's really very special here at First Parish Needham UU. Have a wonderful Sunday. Bye.
Hi, we're the Squires family. I'm Casey. Hi, and I'm Laffy.
I'm Sherry.
And I'm Anne Marie. We wanted to tell you a little bit about what we appreciate so much about First Parish.
I like Song Squad and RE.
And we've been coming to First Parish ever since we moved to Needham in 2015. And we've been really appreciative of how welcome we felt right from the start. And we really liked being a part of this community. And we're so glad to be here with all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Many thanks to the Ganacantos and Sklarwitz family for sharing this morning what First Parish means to you. This congregation has been supported by the volunteered time and treasure of its members and friends since its founding in 1711. This is the time in our service when we, the modern stewards of this church, offer what we can to build and sustain the congregation and the world that we envision. This month, our collections will be split 50-50 with the Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry. The UU Urban Ministry was founded in 1826 by Greater Boston Unitarian congregations to support the Reverend Joseph Tuckerman in his ministry of empowering Boston's most underprivileged residents while transforming the spiritual consciousness of their most privileged neighbors. For almost 200 years, the UU Urban Ministry has provided services and educational opportunities in line with Reverend Tuckerman's vision and modern Unitarian Universalist values. Today, the UU Urban Ministry offers programming for children and youth, organizes community events, and runs a women's shelter. First Parish in Needham is a longtime member congregation of the UU Urban Ministry. So to donate to today's offering, you can use one of 3 different methods. You can use our Text to Give program through the number 73256 with the exact wording of UU Needham space plate or pledge 21 space $sign and the amount that you would like to give. You can mail a check to First Parish at 23 Dedham Avenue, or you can make a donation through our website, uuneedham.org, and select Donate Now under the Giving box. Whichever way, remember to specify whether your donation is meant for the plate collection or for your annual pledge. Thank you for everything that you are able to give to help support and sustain the congregation and the vital work of our community partners. Please take the next few moments to give what you can and know that it will be gratefully received. Our reading this morning comes from queer Vietnamese American UU minister Reverend Elizabeth Nguyen. It's called Show Up Hungry. I got off work at 7 p.m. and did the thing where you chase the bus a little bit and then realize that you won't make it and walk sheepishly back to the bus stop. I'm already an hour late to Sunday night singing at the Lucy Stone Cooperative, a UU affordable housing co-op in Boston. I'm still ambivalent. I could go home to Netflix and grilled cheese. I could choose predictability and warm carbs. Or I could get on the bus to this community where I was first a member of the planning team and now a board member, This place where, despite my leadership role, I still find myself questioning whether and how I belong. I give myself a little pep talk, reminding myself that I'm allowed to show up late and hungry and in need of a song. Reminding myself that being in community means offering care and being cared for, bringing my shiny self and my not-so-shiny self. When I arrive, there's a teapot of hot water and a plate of fat dates on the table. A friend presses a bowl into my hands and there is broccoli soup. We sing Amazing Grace. The wonders of accepting love have made me whole and real. Community is covenant. It's the promise of a bowl of soup and a song at the end of the day. It's love in the form of a house on Moreland Street that has said that it doesn't matter that I don't live there, that I too am welcome on Sunday nights. Laid bare, it is the succor and accountability of doing that thing together that we cannot do alone. I've not always been my best self in the communities that I have loved. I've shirked dish duty at Lucy Stone and missed weddings in my hometown. I've dropped out when I was needed and showed up full of pettiness and exhaustion. The wonder of accepting love is only made evident when we're allowed to shed the shiny and let the sourness show. Our communities of spirit are only real because we show up late, expecting to be fed. Because we both give and get. Because we bring our tart and our sweet, our gifts and our struggles. We need lemon in the lentils, rice vinegar in the sushi, a squeeze of lime in the chelada, and some acid in our communities. Without it, our communities are superficial. With no acid, we are one note and monotone. Our vulnerabilities, our bits of brokenness, they bring life to our relationships. We are part of community when we show up shiny and not so shiny. When we ladle soup into each other's bowls and eat it eagerly. When we bring our sour and our sweet. When we shed the shiny and show up hungry. Here ends our reading. During season 1 of the podcast Magic Lessons, podcast host and author Elizabeth Gilbert asks Cheryl Strayed something along the lines of, "How the heck did you finish that best-selling book Wild with 2 kids in the house?" Cheryl Strayed goes on to tell listeners how, well, she didn't. During the home stretch of finishing the first draft of Wild, she explained, "I left my kids for 3 weeks. I went to a remote cabin in rural Oregon, and my children were at the time really young. They were like 4 and 5. And one of the biggest struggles that I had was really inside of myself. How could I possibly leave such young kids for so long? In fact," she continued, "I might have judged other mothers for doing it before doing it myself." She tells the story of being away for 3 weeks writing, of worrying every day if her kids were going to be okay, and yet coming home to them perfectly fine, just overjoyed to see her as if she had really never left at all. Eventually, she realized, and I quote, "One of the greatest gifts I've given my children might just be the example of a mother who pursues her passions tenaciously." Pointier words than that might have been used, but I will leave the rest up to the imagination. I've remembered Cheryl Strayed's story for the now 5 years since I first heard it on Magic Lessons because it was such a powerful example of turning around the shoulds. What I mean by that, to sort of just hover over it for a minute, is that there was the internalized should that her culture had instilled in her for so many years. A good mother should stay with her kids every minute of their childhood and prioritize them above everything. And then the dramatic turnaround. A good mother models to her children what it takes to pursue her passions tenaciously. There might have even been another should turned around if we look a little bit closer. A good writer should be able to seamlessly balance writing and parenthood. And then the dramatic turnaround. A good writer should not be able to seamlessly balance writing and parenthood. I wasn't a mother at the time of first listening to this episode, and I'm still not. I was and am a daughter. I guess I did consider myself to be a budding writer. But more than any of that, I was struck by what felt to be like a deep, timeless truth that they were getting at. That we have internalized a substantial set of shoulds and stories through the cultures we've grown up into, so those stories might be different for some among us. And for the most part, those shoulds go unquestioned until somebody breaks from them, like Cheryl Strayed did. And when they do, you begin to wonder what sort of substance those stories are really made of, and if they're really that true after all, other than that we've practiced them collectively for centuries on centuries and they just feel like the way things are. I should say before moving on that both the should and the turnaround moment for Cheryl Strayed were of course entirely engendered by her social and cultural location. It was a privilege that there was someone else to mind the kids, and that there was a cabin that she could go to in order to write. And it bears mentioning that this entire should not dialogue was Cheryl Strayed's alone. In fact, it might be completely reversed for some other writer-mother. It might look like, all my friends are telling me that I should get away and write my last chapter of my book from a cabin in the woods because it will clear my head a little bit. But actually, my kids are my inspiration. And where I really need to be right now is right here. Almost a year into the pandemic, in this process of challenging the shoulds that we tell ourselves constantly, I should have made a healthier dinner. I shouldn't have let my stress get the better of me. It feels more relevant now than ever. My friend and colleague in the UCC tradition, Martha Schick, posted recently on Facebook, and I share here with her permission, on why she will not be giving up something for Lent this year. She writes, "This has been a year of giving up things. It's not just the big things, like postponing our wedding or canceling family holiday gatherings. It's also been the smaller things, like struggling to feel motivated when my homeschool and work are all in the same place. It's the issues that I've had with my appetite as I get sick of the food that we have and can't seem to find a daily rhythm. It's feeling so uninspired by reading goals or exercise goals or any goals that I've set for myself, because we're living through a collective trauma that does not lend itself to self-improvement." End quote. I loved that line because we're living through a collective trauma that doesn't lend itself to self-improvement. If you're anything like me, the shoulds keep coming every day, every night, one after the other. Even if you know cognitively that during this collective trauma we burn out faster, we're living with too much unprocessed grief, and we are more exhausted than ever, and our thresholds for stress are much lower than average. So I wonder if this practice of turning around the shoulds might just be one way to practice being a little more gentle with ourselves these days. And the gentler we are with ourselves, the gentler we might be with the people around us, because this practice can actually go both ways. So in her book, Loving What Is, Euro-American speaker and author Byron Katie talks about this process of recognizing a should and turning it around as a process she calls inquiry. Inquiry, according to her, involves a couple more steps. Whenever an unpleasant or distressing thought arises, Byron Katie proposes inquiring into that thought by asking it 4 questions. The first is it true? Is it true that, for instance, my friend must not care about me if she did not ask me how my day was? The second question is, can you absolutely know that it is true? Can I absolutely know that it is true that my friend must not care about me? Third, you would ask yourself, how do I react? What happens when I believe that thought that my friend must not care about me? And finally, who would you be without that thought? The turnarounds are actually the very last step of the process. You take the thought, my friend should have asked how my day was, and turn it around. My friend should not have asked how my day was. Maybe my friend was busy or scattered. Or some alternate turnarounds might be, I should have asked how my friend's day was, or even I should have asked how my own day was. And you just try on some of those turnarounds for size and see if they feel as true, maybe even truer than the original thought. Not shoulding ourselves or others. To go deeper with practices like these, we really should move beyond our Jewish and Christian sources to the teachings of the Buddhist tradition. The Buddha took this practice much further, to the philosophy he called anatman, or no self. As a non-practitioner and beginner student of Buddhist scripture, I will do my best to summarize. So the Buddha taught that the idea that we have selves or identities that remain static and unchanged through time at all is actually just an illusion, and that suffering comes from craving or attachment toward anything, including even our notions of self. So even that idea that I should respond in any determined way at all to a novel circumstance is absurd to Buddhist practitioners and Buddhist monks. Like Cassie Bailey said so eloquently in her reflection on Youth Alum Sunday, that claim that I am not a runner is just not useful. It's no surprise then that at the heart of Buddhist practice is cultivating compassionate non-judgment towards self and others. When there's no shoulds, there is far less to resist or be dissatisfied with about ourselves and others. It's something that Buddhists might call a practice of cultivating nonviolence within oneself. And maybe that nonviolence within oneself is one of the practices that can help build the resilience that we've been talking about all month. There's a certain amount of elasticity in that moment of returning to center, of returning to ourself without the need for any judgment. I will go out on a limb to say that some shoulds are important, but probably only like 3% of all the shoulds that we deal with in a day. It's the age-old, how do I explain Unitarian Universalism to somebody that knows nothing about it problem. Is it accurate to say that you can believe whatever you want to believe? Well, yes and no. There is no creedal test for membership, and there is truly a stunning variety of beliefs within our ranks, but To be you means something specific. It means entering into a covenant bounded by our 7, possibly soon 8 principles. Covenanting, for instance, that you will be just and compassionate in human relationships. The shoulds that are contained within our principles are good ones to keep around and to strive toward, always, of course, aspirationally and imperfectly. And just one more thing, a secret about the secret moment, if you will. There is a great amount of healing and mindfulness that can stem from challenging shoulds and stories. But there are certain traumas and life experiences experts report that you might not be able to just think your way out of. Things that actually lodge themselves into the body rather than solely just the mind. And this is an important place where I part company with Byron Katie's teachings in the later chapters of Loving What Is. During the pandemic, one of my trusted spiritual friends and I have taken to texting each other an intention at the beginning of the day and a turnaround right before bed. And I wanted to share a few of them with you this morning, again with her permission. At the beginning of this month, my friend texted me, "I should not have eaten so many brownies tonight." Turned around to, actually, maybe I ate exactly the right amount. Life is a balance, and tonight was one of sweets. And another, my roommate should have cleaned more, to my roommate should not have cleaned more because he was tired after a long day at work. And one of mine, I should have done more work tonight. Or if not that, then I should have been more social with my roommates. Either way, I should have had more energy. To, it was a long week, and I should not have had any more energy than I did tonight. Lama Rod Owens, Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams, and Yasmin Saidullah, in their book Radical Dharma, say that every moment of challenging a long-held should, no matter how small, even if it's just a should about late-night brownies, is a radical practice, because it's an embrace of authenticity and a challenging of the stories that come together to hold things like sexism, classism, racism, and all the other isms in place. So, will you look at the whole truth? Reverend Angel began in an interview about the same book. And not just the story that you want to tell yourself, not just the story that you've inherited, not just the narrative of capitalism is all that we have, but why has our imagination been stolen in such a way by capitalism that we can't even imagine a different possibility for different economies and different ways of trading and being in relationship to each other? Radical Dharma is an invitation to interrogate not just one truth, but as many truths as one can encounter, so that what we live with is a willingness to be curious and contemplative and courageous about the life and the lives that we have, the lives that we inherited, but also the lives that other people inherited, and really try to allow for the multiplicity of truths and the multiplicity of ways of being and knowing." End quote. As Walt Whitman famously said, "Do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I am large, I contain multitudes." May it be so, and blessed be, and amen.
Draw the circle, draw the circle line. circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide.
As we close our worship today, you are all invited to stay with us for our Zoom social hour. Please remember to keep a careful eye out for emails from First Parish and follow us on social media so you can keep up with opportunities for connection for all ages throughout the week and during these times of physical isolation. You can sign up for our weekly email by clicking on, of course, subscribe to newsletter on our website, uuneedham.org. Please remember, if you become ill or need any pastoral support, to reach out to our ministers, Reverend Katie Scudera and Jenna Crawford, and the pastoral care team and caring crew via phone or email. We also encourage all of you strongly to check in with your friends at First Parish and to double-check your own contact information in our online realm directory if you have not done so recently. These personal check-ins are so valuable. I will attest to that. Please email our office administrator, Susanna Whitman, if you have any questions about using the online directory. We always extinguish our chalice with words promising to carry its flame in our hearts until we are together again, no matter how long it is until we are together again. As we extinguish our chalice today, please join me from home in saying these words written by Unitarian Universalist minister, Reverend Elizabeth Selle Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
The words for our benediction this morning come from the British Indian novelist Salman Rushdie. This is from his 1981 award-winning novel, Midnight's Children. Now, seated hunched over paper in a pool of angle-poised light, I no longer want to be anything except what I am. What am I? My answer, I am the sum total of everything that went before me, of all I have done, of everything done to me. I am everything whose being in the world affected and was affected by mine. I am anything that happens after I have gone, which would not have happened if I had not come, nor am I particularly exceptional in this matter. Each I, every one of the now 600 million plus of us, contains a similar multitude. I repeat, for the last time, to understand me, you will have to swallow a world. The service begins when the service ends. Go in peace.